All right, welcome back to the channel, everyone. So today, as per usual, I'm doing my rounds on Twitter, seeing what's going on in the MMA world. And Movsar Evloev, he's been tweeting a bit and making some noise. So let's take a look at what he's been saying. So one day ago, he tweets, "If you are a UFC fighter and you believe you are the best in the world, then you have to fight every fight they throw at you. No risk, no reward. See you guys in July. It's on. Hashtag Abu Dhabi." Now, he doesn't say who he's fighting, but the rumor is that he accepted a fight with Aaron Pico. We'll get to that later, but that's just the rumor that everyone's saying lately. Now, next tweet he says, "At Alexander Volkanovski, thank you, champ, for trying to fight me. I will go fight in July, and you will fight in September. Hopefully we both win, and we can meet in December." Now, obviously, the UFC is not going to tell everything, every single detail to Movsar Evloev, but I'm sure that's what he's hearing behind the scenes, that Volkanovski is fighting in September. And there's a reason why he's not getting the title fight, because he would have said, "I'm fighting for the title," obviously. And it's just, basically, this doesn't 100% confirm, but it implies that the rumors were true that Volkanovski's fighting Yair Rodriguez in September. Because September's the Mexican card, and obviously Yair Rodriguez is quite Mexican. And they need a Mexican descent person to headline that card, because that just makes sense. Now, as I said in my recent videos, Yair Rodriguez does not deserve this whatsoever. Because you look at what Yair's done in his last three. So he beat a Patricio Pitbull who's 38, who literally had his first fight in the UFC, and clearly he was outclassing Patricio, and Patricio didn't look like himself. He was barely throwing. It was pretty bad performance on Patricio's part, but it is what it is. UFC nerves are very real, and I can't blame them for not having a great performance their first time, because I know it's a fight, and you know, you would think like, hey, well, what's the big deal? But having this platform and having all this attention, it does a lot to you mentally. So it is what it is. And that's why I believe that fighters that are coming off these other divisions should not fight top 5 off the rip. But what do I know? Anyways, before that, he gets submitted by Ortega. And Ortega has not been looking great as of late. So being submitted by Ortega isn't exactly a great look. And then before that, he got demolished by Volkanovski. So that adds even more criticism to this booking. You know, it's not confirmed, but alleged booking of Yair versus Volkanovski too. Now, if you remember, before Yair fought Patricio Pitbull, he said that he was promised by the UFC he would get a title shot if he did that. And I don't understand the mentality behind that from the UFC, because, like I said, Movsar Evloev, he deserves it way more. Let's go look at Movsar Evloev and what he's been doing. So, Movsar Evloev, here we go. So Movsar, he is 3-3 in his, sorry, not 3-3, 3 wins in his last 3 fights, and he is undefeated as well. So he just beat Aljamain Sterling. Then before that, he beat Arnold Allen, and before that, he beat Diego Lopez. Now, Diego Lopez just challenged for the belt, right? Just challenged. So if a win on him must look good in the UFC's eyes, you would think. And then after that, like I said, Arnold Allen. Arnold Allen is easily top 5 material. He's a very good fighter, and he deserves all the respect in the world for beating Arnold Allen. And then Aljamain Sterling. Aljamain Sterling is a former champion who defended multiple times. I get it's in 135, but at the same time, Aljamain Sterling, he looks good in 145, and it was a tough fight for Movsar, but he got it done. Now, how do you justify in your minds giving the title shot to Yair? It just goes to show how out of touch the UFC is lately. Like, I've been complaining about it in many, many, many videos. Like, at this point, I would not be surprised if Tom Aspinall has to wait for another year on the bench and has to watch Tom Aspinall fight Tai Tuivasa for a fucking title shot in Australia. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's how psychotic the UFC is lately. I really, really don't get it. And that's the thing. I can't say I feel bad for Movsar Evloev, because at the end of the day, he does have a choice to say, no, I'm not going to fight whoever you're going to, unless it's a top 5. And let's get back to Movsar. So Movsar, the rumor is that Movsar is fighting Aaron Pico. Now, if that's true, because so people are reporting that he had just accepted it, and that's what he's implying, that he's fighting in Abu Dhabi. If that's true, to me that blows my mind, because, like I said with Patricio Pitbull, no fighter coming outside of the UFC deserves a top 5. I'm sorry, I do not believe that. I do not. They have to build themselves up. Like I said about the nerves of the UFC, the first fight. So to give them a top 5 and then totally ruin their chances and have to set them back multiple fights, it's a stupid idea. And not only that, everyone in the top 5 of the UFC, no matter what the division, obviously the lower divisions, it's a lot harder, so you got to give them even more credit. Anyone in the top 5 has fought tooth and nail to not only get there, but to stay there. So to just piss that away by giving it to a shot to someone out of the organization completely unranked, it makes absolutely no sense to me. And if Movsar took this, like, props to him, man. Like, I know I wouldn't do that. You know, I would say, hey, give me another top 5. If you need me to fight again before you give me title shot, give me top 5. That's bare minimum. So, and that's the thing too. Everyone, all these American wrestlers are talking about how good Aaron Pico is. And no, like, it's just, you look at all these American wrestlers that are coming in here that are, you know, worshipped by all these other American wrestlers. Take it with the biggest grain of salt, because shout out Bo Nickel. You know what I'm saying? So I just, Aaron Pico could prove me wrong, and he could annihilate Movsar. By all means, if he does, I take back what I'm saying. But I just don't trust the American wrestlers talking about how good they are, because I've seen the contrary so many times. And not only that, to go back to what Movsar was saying, thank you, Volkanovski, for trying to fight me. Unlike certain fighters in the UFC who refuse to fight the number 1 contenders, John Jones, Volkanovski literally is going out of his way to go find the toughest competition. He demolished Yair. Like I said, why would he want to fight him again? He wanted Movsar, because if you look at not only the trajectory of the future, Yair, could he be champion? Maybe. That's a big maybe. Movsar Evloev, I guarantee you, by the end of his career, he will have become UFC champion. I can't guarantee anything because the sport is crazy, but either a number 1 contender for the rest of his career or champion. 100%. Guaranteed. He's easily at the top of the weight class. No matter, he doesn't have a lot of finishes, that is what it is, but he's top of the top 5. Top 3, easily. And the reason Volkanovski wants to fight Movsar is because you look at, in the future, you got to weigh, what's 2 wins over Yair Rodriguez, who has been, here and there in his UFC, whereas Movsar Evloev, undefeated. The future, sky's the limit. So having Movsar Evloev on his record, taking away that O, will be so much more valuable for his resume in the future. Because once Volkanovski's sitting on the couch, retired, successful, and that's if he beats Movsar, he'll see Movsar racking up title defenses, depending on how Gene Silva is, because like I said, I really like Gene Silva. I think he's really good too. So that might be a big test for Movsar, but we'll get to that later. Sitting on the couch, being like, oh, beat that guy. Oh, beat that guy. Look how good he's doing. I beat him. You know what I mean? It's just makes all the sense in the world. And as I said in my previous videos, Movsar, Volk, Makhachev, Della Maddalena on the same card. You could have done Russia versus Australia. You could have done that literally anywhere, preferably in Australia, but easily. 2 defending Aussie champs, and then you fill the undercard with more Russian versus Australia matchups. You could have done like something like back in the day, like those competing country cards. It's just, it literally wrote itself. And not only that, Yair and Diego Lopez had so much beef in the press conference. Literally, a blind man would want to see that again. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a no-brainer to want to see Yair Rodriguez versus Diego Lopez. Because not only would it be a great fight, it would be a huge build-up. You add that to any pay-per-view as a co-main 5-rounder. Any co-main, easily. And that boosts your sales, especially if you wanted to put that on the September card. Go ahead. But to give Yair Rodriguez the title shot boggles my mind, man. I really don't understand where the matchmaking of the UFC is, and I swear to God, if the fucking press conference for this bullshit, or next time Dana White's in front of cameras and they do not criticize and say, how the fuck do you give Yair Rodriguez a title shot? Like, it's just, it's bullshit. Because the UFC, like I said before, they're clearly the number one MMA promoter by far, by literally a light year ahead of anyone else. So they don't have to be hungry anymore. They don't have to be putting on these great shows. They're guaranteed all this money. And that's the thing. Sometimes success is the worst thing for these people because it makes them lazy and it makes them out of touch. You look at all these, name a giant corporation and look at their, back in, 10 years ago and look at now. Compare the quality of the product compared to how much they're listening to the fans. It just blows my mind. It's really, really, really frustrating. And I've seen so many people saying that, oh, I'm not going to watch UFC 320 or whatever the Mexico card is. Obviously, they're going to watch it, but it's just, how do you sell that? How do you sell that, UFC? Like, I really, really, really need someone to go talk to Dana White and be honest. I feel like no one's being honest. It's just like, oh, how's Power Slap? How's your bull? Like, no one gives a fuck, man. Like, and that's the thing. The UFC as well. Not only that, they kick out anyone who asks hard questions. So it's just like, and that's the thing. I love Nina Drama. She makes great content. That's great. But we need someone in there who will stick it to the man and ask the questions like, how the fuck do you justify this? No, nobody wants this. Nobody wants Merab O'Malley 2. Nobody wants Volkanovski versus Yair 2. Nobody wants these cards. Nobody wants these fights. And then for him to go and Dana White to go be like, yeah, that's what people want. I'd love to see how he spins this Volkanovski Yair 2. I'd love to see how he says, because, it's not going to be a big promotion. It's just going to be him on his fucking phone. Be like, all right, this is what we got here. So, it just blows my mind. It blows my mind. I'm sorry. It's very hard to be a UFC fan right now. I get we have the best, well, not we, but the UFC has the best fighters and they're by far the best talent pool, the best not promotion anymore, but still. It's just so frustrating because I feel like we need to change the old guard, not only in these divisions, but the UFC staff itself. We need someone who's in there who's hungry. I remember I just seen a clip of Dana White, probably 10 yeyears ago, where someone asked him a question and he actually has energy and he's like, oh, what the fuck do you mean? Well, why would he retire? Talking about GSP leaving the belt or whatever. I miss the old hungry Dana White who actually cared about the sport. You see him trying to go and promote these boxing events. It's like, man, focus on what got you to the dance. UFC. If your heart's not in it, give it up, man. It's fucking ridiculous. I'm sorry. It's just, I'm going to go on a rant for 8 hours here, but still. Thank you guys so much for watching and listening, liking and support, and see you guys in the next one. Man, I'm just fired up.